say his name and he'll appear. We believe Joe Hendry. All right, see if the crystals work. Okay, finally, here we go. All right, take two. Here we are. We're back. These aren't the droids you're looking for. Ignore the man behind the curtain, all that stuff. But yeah, man. How was your week? Good?
It was okay.
It was okay?
Okay, here we go. Getting the sound up. All right, yes, it was okay.
Not bad?
Yeah, I don't know.
This is our Wednesday. Our show day is hump day, man.
Mm-hmm.
Show day is hump day, and this is when we start prepping for what movies we saw last week, and then what movies we're going to see this week. This week, I don't know if we're going to see Borderlands, but the show is based on, in honor of Borderlands, because we do like Eli Roth, even though I guess you told me he's only half director. But yeah, it's time to talk about some video game adaptations. It's time. Because what was the movie we saw last week?
What's that?
What did we see last week?
Last week?
Yeah, what was the drop last week? What did
last week was Trap.
Trap. Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Trap. And you felt trapped in Trap.
I'd rather not discuss it.
You escaped.
No, actually, I don't mind talking about it. I mean, I don't understand. I really didn't. I thought it was the worst movie I've seen all year, but I don't understand. But it's surprising because a lot of people really like it. So I don't know. I'm just curious what people are thinking about this.
Josh Hartnett, I think, for one, I think people appreciated it. His heel turn. I mean, he did such a great job on Black Mirror, and everyone's like, oh, he plays a really good heel. You know, you just remember him with having a bad haircut in Halloween and being Ben's sidekick in Pearl Harbor. But this was like a full, okay, you got the ball, you're going to be a heel, it's going to be all about you, it's going to be a very personalized piece. So I think people were kind of rooting for him.
Well, yeah, that was how the movie was set up, essentially.
Right? I don't know if it was necessarily rooting for the movie, because M. Night is very, very divisive, right? Either people love him or hate him, but I mean, he's had duds before. Like, did you hate Trap worse than you hated Lady in the Water? Or did you like Lady in the Water?
I thought Lady in the Water was fine. Not it was still like, I think his first 5 films or so were all pretty solid, even though I think they were You could argue on either side of it. You could. I think they were definitely the top. The last couple of his top 5, Lady in the Water, The Village, those he started to sort of lose his luster.
Yeah.
Twist. He was a twist guy, but I didn't get trapped at all. I didn't understand how this was even. I mean, he makes some fun as his own film, so that's fine. And more power to him. And I don't want to bash him. Like he's doing whatever he wants to do, living the dream. But
the only movies he has heat with of his own movies are the ones that he was the director for hire. Which you've talked about that before, right? Some directors are great at being that director for hire, and some people just need to make their own stuff. Yeah, and I think he finally realized I just need to make my own stuff, live or die by it. But it felt more like that last movie that came out wasn't his movie, but it was his other daughter's movie, was The Watchers. Did you like that?
I didn't see that, no.
You didn't see it?
No.
So this is the year of the next generation of Shyamalan.
Yeah.
Right? His 2 daughters, and because she was the pop star.
Yeah.
They were saying some of the market confusion was caused by Smile 2 also being about a pop star. I didn't see that confusion. Although one of the trailers for Trap was a big smiling face of Josh Hartnett, so I can see there being a little bit of market confusion if you're just a normie and you don't like count down for when movies are coming out like you and I do.
Yeah. I suppose. I don't know. I don't know. The confusion was what? That they thought they were seeing Smile?
Yeah, that it was going to be Smile too.
Oh, no, I don't. Yeah. I don't know how they could make that mistake. If you're ordering a ticket to a movie called Trapped. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know, but we'll see. And you said you're not really excited about Borderlands this week.
I've never played Borderlands, so I really have no frame of reference. So
yeah, I didn't. I mean, it's definitely a later game, and we're getting to the generation where the adaptations are going to be of like, oh, I watched my son play that game.
Yeah,
more than much. It's like I played that game.
Yeah.
But what was explained before? What is the deal? Like, do you know why Eli Roth got taken off this film, or did he walk off, or was he asked to leave?
I don't know. Like the story goes, they brought in somebody else to add more action to the film. But I think if you're not asking the director back for reshoots, that's kind of like a soft firing. So I don't really know. But he's still with the movie and promoting it, whatever. I'm sure he's still the credited director. Thank you, DGA. So but I have no idea.
And he didn't fight to get his name off or anything like that.
Not that I know of, no.
I can't even think of the last movie I saw of Eli Roth that wasn't a horror movie. I guess Death Wish, maybe?
Yeah. Death Wish, not a horror movie.
Yeah, so maybe... It's funny, we saw Death Game, and then you were talking about he made the remake Knock Knock. Death Game was on The Last Drive-In, and I did not see Eli Roth's remake, even though I had no heat with it. It was one of those, sometimes movies slip through the cracks, and that one did slip through the cracks. Yeah, I don't think he's had... There was a movie in 2021 called Finn. Oh, that was actually a documentary. Eli Roth and a professional group of scientists, researchers, and activists set around the globe to unveil the truth behind the deaths of millions of sharks.
But back to Borderlands. I don't think I'm going to see it. I'm not planning on seeing it.
No.
I don't know if I feel like we're already to the new stuff, but I feel like it's even with what was it? What was the one that they just made into a show?
The Last of Us?
Right. It's like cut scenes from the video game made into a film.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I don't know. It's just a weird concept.
I mean, they're becoming prestige pieces, right? When we were talking about this earlier offline, that traditionally you made a video game, a movie about a video game, and it was usually bad because Hollywood didn't necessarily know how to pull it off. But now it's the opposite, right? Everybody loved the Super Mario Brothers animated one. Everybody loves Sonic's. I mean, Sonic's on like what, their third one?
Sure.
Five Nights at Freddy's did bonkers box office, and it's about to do a second one, but it's got good reviews. You know, I thought it could have been better, but I mean, it has good reviews. So I mean, this times have changed for video game movies. Before I get off the Eli Roth thing, did I tell you I watched a little bit of Eli Roth's Haunted House Trek VR Treat?
What is that?
Speaking of video games, so it's actually a game slash movie inside of Meta with the VR goggles. From the twisted mind of Eli Roth and starring Vanessa Hudgens, as you've never seen her before, we invite you to step inside the dollhouse for a 180-degree virtual nightmare. And it was good, man. I didn't watch the whole thing because it's a movie, but it's also a game. You got to have to follow along. So you're actually in. We knew this was coming, right? That eventually you were going to be immersed in the experience. I think that's why this generation is more into video games than they are movies, because when you're in the video game, when you're playing the video games, it is a movie now. It's not like it was before. This isn't scrolling up and down or scrolling left to right. The cutscenes are just as important as the game itself.
Right.
And that is part of the experience. So the next step beyond that is going to be to step inside the game yourself, a la we live in a simulation.
Right.
And this is the game. But he did a really good job. And it's just something about the mood that it. And I'm sorry, I should have sent this to you earlier so you can see some of the pictures online. It does something where it sets the mood that you just feel like you got pushed into that episode of Black Mirror when they put the nodes on and then you're actually in the game, like the room and stuff, and you're turning around and the movie is actually happening over there. So while you're watching it happen, and if you want to be a part of it, you have to go in there. But if you want to leave that experience and go explore the rest of the movie, you just left the movie to go explore the rest of the house. And I mean, that's where things are going. As cinemas are struggling to stay alive, in a way, that's what they're going to have to compete with soon. You know, people are just going to put on, contact lenses and put a few nodes behind their ears. And then it doesn't matter how big of a room you're in, because now you're going to be sucked into it.
Well, it's just not that impressive, is it? It's like, just the idea of just going to a big room with a big screen with strangers is just not much. That's not much to offer.
Not anymore.
When the alternatives are a virtual world where you live the movie.
Right. That makes it tough. That makes it really hard.
Yeah.
The one that tripped me out is because I don't own these glasses. My brother-in-law has these glasses, so I wanted to take a look. Another thing you can do for the people watching the movie at home is they show this is the movie they're going to, and you go into a virtual movie theater and you're literally sitting there with a bunch of avatars watching the movie in front of you. So you're pretending to be in a big room with strangers watching. But you're seeing people kind of get up and you're kind of watching the movie, but then you're also looking around to see what these other avatars are doing.
Yeah. And then you can interact with them. They're like NPCs.
Yeah. Yep. So as much as I love movie theaters, and I'll always keep going, because I mean, that was our communal experience. Because for me, right, the movie theater goes all the way back to ancient times, caveman times, right? When you have the elders sitting around the fire and you're eating and they're telling a story to you. To me, that's the original movie theater, sitting at that fire, letting the elders tell you a story.
Yeah.
That's the original movie theater, but it's just nobody counted on technology where you're actually going to get inserted into this movie.
Not only are you inserted into the movie, but you can leave the movie itself and not even pay attention to it.
Correct. That's what that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is. You found the poster. Yeah, so it was dope. So
how is a movie theater going to compete with that, where you can actually just be inside the movie and not even watch it at all?
The only thing that they're going to be able to do is they're going to kind of have to embrace that and now it's going to become one of those LAN parties. Like, okay, you have to go in this movie theater, but you have to put on this headset and you have to put on these diodes.
Yeah.
And you have to go there and you sit on the seat and you're going to be immersed. Similar to like when you go to Universal Studios, right? And you ride the ride.
But everybody can just do that from their house.
Right.
So why you're not going to go anywhere to do that?
Unless you can't, like in the beginning, I can see when you can't afford the technology because some of this stuff is going to cost thousands of dollars to get it like really to work right, and you may not want to do that. You may want to just try it once. It's like, okay, I'll try it for $10 and I'll put it on and I'll do it for 2 hours.
But technology moves so fast. It'll get inexpensive.
It will.
Fast.
Like before, you had to have a rig nearby. Now it's to the point where you don't need the rig.
Yeah.
But it was for the first time. Have you ever had a movie that while you're watching the movie, you wanted to explore like background characters or side quests during the movie?
I mean, no, I've never thought I'd want to do that.
That's what it felt like. But if you did go walk up to those characters, they would interact with you. So you would look over to you and then they would be like, well, what do you think? Like, what happened here? And then you're like, oh, you're talking to me. Like, you've never would have thought. I mean, this is like the last action hero. Just
and
like
then other people can also be in the movie.
Right.
While you're there.
Yes, they can also be in the movie. So it makes it really tough to compete.
Well, I'm glad Eli Roth is getting work.
Yeah. Yeah, because you know what? I mean, he'll always have work because he's probably like Quentin Tarantino and Eli Roth are probably, I will listen to 100% of their podcasts.
Yeah.
Because he's that good of telling the story, and he's such a film fanatic. Where it was interesting that he made this leap, but I can't ever see Quentin Tarantino making this leap.
No,
I think he would say, "Screw that."
no, I think he still writes his scripts in pencil.
Yeah, exactly.
on a composition notebook.
That's a shoot, right?
You're not going to get him to do that now.
Yes.
No, that's a shoot.
I mean, what was the one? Wasn't Joe Bob just talking about that somebody tried to get a movie to air at the New Beverly, but they didn't have a 35 millimeter cut, so they wouldn't air it, or they couldn't air it because they probably don't even have the tech to show it there.
No, that's all they play is a 35 millimeter.
Right. So
they don't even have a pre-movie slideshow going. You know what I mean? There's nothing in front of it. It's just they just cut on the projector and you hear it go, and it's just
that's it.
Old trailers immediately, and then the movie,
and then it just goes in.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see Eli take this jump because, like you said, this next gen, that's what we're competing with, man. But before it all goes down, we're gonna get a lot more video game movies because I still feel like June sucked at the box office, right? May wasn't great, and June sucked, and then we just had a kind of a revival, like another shot of adrenaline.
Yeah.
Right? That was after, I think Minions or Despicable Me kind of started it, but then we had Twisters really took it off, and then Deadpool and Wolverine.
Well, you can't forget about, what was the Pixar one? That did really well.
Oh, Inside Out,
that
too.
That pretty much owned June, I think.
Yeah. That did really well. But...
Or July. No, that was July. I don't even know. But anyway, yeah, you're right.
But I thought it would be fun when I was thinking about whether or not we were going to see Borderlands. I thought it would be fun to go back, even if we have to go back to the beginning, and just talk about some of the best and worst of video game adaptations.
You know, I like this category because there's not that many. Okay, like we did Sharks not too long ago, and there's thousands.
Yeah, that's true.
But there's not that many of these, and they only recently became sort of popular and watchable. Like you mentioned Super Mario Brothers and the cartoon and Sonic cartoon. We counting cartoons here?
I don't think you can because there was a lot of cartoons.
I feel like cartoons should not be in this list.
No, because I think the first one that I remember was Saturday Supercade, where they just combined Donkey Kong, Q*bert, Super Mario Brothers, and Pitfall into one, just glommed it all into one show. Like, well, this isn't enough to carry an entire show, so we'll give them 4 sections of the show, and that was like early 80s.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't feel like you can count that. Let's just talk about, and clearly, like, you have stuff like The Last of Us and stuff that's streaming. I think we should just stick to strictly theatrical release.
Well, I mean, okay. So it's here on the main image here, the beginning, where it all started back in 1993 with Super Mario Brothers 93.
Yeah, they took a leap. I don't think we got to remember. So like when this was, you said 93.
93.
So this was. I was trying to think of at the correlation of what game was actually doing, where the Super Mario universe was at that time, to like be like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense, because this was a big leap. This was a big leap. I don't think people were ready for this.
Did you saw this film?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you saw it in the theater opening weekend,
yes,
I imagine.
yes,
Yeah?
yep.
And you walked out of the theater. What was your thoughts?
I mean, when I was younger, I was confused.
Yeah.
Because it didn't feel like a video game. It felt like a gritty movie, which I
Right.
get now. But when I was younger, when I didn't fully understand what I just witnessed. And now looking back, it's just like, you got Dennis Hopper, you got John Leguizamo, you got Bob Hoskins. Now I see it, and I think it's great.
Yeah.
Like, this was one of those movies, as time went on, I appreciated it way more than I did at the time.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's aged really well.
Yeah.
I picked up the 4K of this, and it's got the this movie was obviously, it was just chopped to hell. Whatever I think the directors were fired by the end of it. They didn't know what to do with this movie. I think they didn't understand why it looked nothing like the video game. Which I think in the day, we were all just like, why didn't that look like the game? But now that I watch it, I'm just like, I'm kind of glad this doesn't look like the game.
Right.
It's just its own thing, interpretation of the Super Mario Brothers story, which is just less than 3 sentences
Right.
to explain what's going on.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, 93, even games weren't like, did we even have the first Sega in 93?
I think Sega was out. I'm not sure.
Like, I don't feel like even the graphics were there yet to even worry about. Like, I don't think there was any cutscenes that were worth a damn in 1993 for them to work off of.
No, a cutscene was just
Sorry, Mario, the princess is in another
exactly.
castle.
That's it. That's all we got. That's all we got. But like they completely went their own way. They didn't try to make this look like the video game at all.
No.
Just like your standard Goombas was this, which is like not even close. It's in fact it's the opposite, because don't they have big heads?
Yeah,
in the game.
That's little.
And they said, let's just go on the big screen. They'll just go for tiny heads. Doesn't make any sense. But I watch it now, and I think it's like I was watching the. I guess it has a director's cut, but it's not like a real cut. It's like from a work print or something, and they reassembled it. And man, they left a lot on the table with this movie.
I would love it.
I think we missed out on something cool.
Yeah. No, I watched it with my son later on, and I was like, I really enjoyed myself. And I kind of actually just realized that I want to pitch you something right now. Okay. This is what I want to see. I want them to revitalize, forget the Chris Pratt stuff with the animation, that's a separate thing.
Right.
I want this universe to be revitalized, and I want to see, Bob Hoskins, he's no longer with us, and they probably, age-wise, they can't do it anyway. I want a prequel version in this universe, but Donkey Kong.
A prequel?
Yeah, do the Mario. I want a prequel to this Super Mario's, exactly how it is now in this universe, but Donkey Kong. So basically, you're going to have like an actual gorilla escapes.
Yeah.
And runs around, leaves the Bronx Zoo, and the only one that can save the city from this gorilla who just escaped the Bronx Zoo are these 2 Italian plumbers.
I love it.
I want to see that. That's the Donkey Kong we need.
I love it. Yeah. And you said it like in Brooklyn, and you can climb up a building and he's throwing barrels off it.
That's what I want. Exactly.
Now, wait a minute. Where did the plumbers come into play here? Because they were always plumbers, right? Even in the original.
Yeah.
Was Mario always a plumber? People don't know, but Mario was like the first Nintendo star.
he was, yeah.
And he was in Donkey Kong. He was in the original just Mario Brothers
I think
before they went Super.
they there's a little bit of swerve, right? Because Donkey Kong came first, and they just called him Jumpman. But then they basically used the same code for the very first Super Mario. Like, oh, that's the guy from Donkey Kong, and they were probably like, yeah, that's the guy from Donkey Kong, and he's got a brother.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, he crawls around pipes, and that was
He's exactly the same, but he's green. That's his brother. It took a while before they looked different.
it. Did.
But
Did you ever watch? I know we're not talking about Saturday morning cartoons, but you ever watched DB in the chat that said "Do the Mario"? That's the first thing I think of is Captain Lou Albano as Super Mario saying, "Do the Mario, swing your arms from side to side." Like somebody in the '80s was like, "What's the lyrics to that?" And it's just like it's just called "Do the Mario."
yeah, I think Captain Lou probably just freestyled that on the spot. Like that was just. He just dropped it like in the moment. But this is another thing. It was just like, I mean, I guess this was a good interpretation of it. Closer.
Yeah.
This came out before the film, didn't it?
This was before the film.
Okay.
And I was just going to add, hey, is that Luigi? Was he in Vision Quest?
That's like some SCTV guy. I don't know.
Right? I feel like I've seen him in so much. I feel like he was Loudon Swain. He worked with them as a server at the hotel.
Yeah.
They're just like, yeah. Anyway, we can go down a rabbit hole just with Super Mario Brothers. Did you ever get any of the obvious, with your name being Mario? Did you ever get any kind of, like, did you ever give yourself the name Super as a nickname, or anyone in school?
I did not, but literally every single person I ever met
Did that?
did. Yeah.
Because for a shoot, as I was saying that, I just realized, oh, your name's Mario too. I never put that two and two together until this very second.
Since Donkey Kong was a hit, like even before Super Mario Brothers.
Wow.
That's always the thing.
But this did not do the box office.
People just didn't get it. They weren't ready.
No.
Like you said, they weren't ready for a gritty Blade Runner Super Mario Brothers comedy. I like that they had these rocket boots to jump with.
That's right. Like, what kind of technology did they have? That they had, the plumbers had some rocket boots. What's up, Anthony? You just missed some riveting Super Mario chatter from 1993. The next, I don't know, you want to jump to the next one because Double Dragon. Did you ever play Double Dragon?
Double Dragon, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was one of those original. There was an era in video game cabinets where it's basically just like punching. Just punching and just scrolling and punching.
Yeah. Renegade, Double Dragon.
Bad Dudes.
Yeah, they were just like...
I think Double Dragon was the first one.
Yeah, that was. I didn't realize that Robert Patrick was in this one.
He is?
Yeah. I guess he was one of the... I don't know. He wasn't one of the bad dudes, though.
I didn't... So, this is... who we got? We got Mark DeCassis and Scott Wolf from
Scott
Party
Wolf,
of Five.
yes. Party of Five. Yes,
Yeah.
He was one of the fighters in it. Again, this was when the movies were not living up to the hype of how good the video games were. Because everybody loved the fighting games. Like you said, it was a big thing right now. So there was a big expectation and there was a big rush to get this done. And I think around the same time, Street Fighter and Double Dragon, they were having their deep impact Armageddon moment of just like two kind of similar fighting video games that were trying to make it to theaters quicker.
Yeah.
Just like a month later, we got the Jean-Claude Van Damme Street Fighter, which also should have been great. And for full disclosure, I have not rewatched this in a long time.
Yeah.
So I just know it's not one of his favorites, and I don't know how well it holds up. But I think they were being a little bit closer. I feel like Street Fighter and Double Dragon is when we started creeping into cutscenes. Like we were getting the cutscenes at least in between which would just be like somebody playing a MIDI keyboard and they're going to grab the girl, and then you're going to see kind of like Contra when then they're going to jump into the helicopter and go away. So it wasn't like full on cutscenes, but there was a story happening, right? So they had a little bit more than, like you said, for Super Mario's, where they just had 3 lines.
Right. And Double Dragon was essentially, I don't even, what was the plot of Double Dragon? Do you remember? I thought you were just basically just fighting all the thugs in your neighborhood.
Yeah, I think I feel like you were just cleaning up the neighborhood. Is the video game, the director...
According to the plot of the film, is a giant earthquake destroys Southern California, greatly altering its landscape and leaving Los Angeles, renamed New Angeles, in shambles after the federal government fails to help restore order to build or to rebuild. So this was like they made this like a post-apocalyptic Escape from New York Double Dragon. I had no idea.
Except these guys look like they're doing okay.
Yeah, I know.
For New Angeles.
As far as like post-apocalyptic wear, yeah, they look pretty good. So yes.
I think Anthony brought up a good point with these video games. Of when the more intricate the stories became in the video games, then it gave them the ability to tell these longer stories, kind of like a book. You get backstory at the same time. You just get hours and hours of story, where the movie has to do it in 2 hours.
Right.
You know, and that's where it struggles, where people like the book is better. I think we're now just realizing that back then it was just like, oh, the video game itself was better.
Right. Yeah, but Double Dragon, I don't think made a mark. No, that was forgettable.
No.
Street Fighter did fine. I think just coasting on the fumes of the game being so popular at the time.
Yep.
And of course, he had Jean-Claude Van Damme in there,
which was a big deal.
So, but I think if you look up the behind the scenes on this one, was it not in was it in that Last Action Heroes book? I feel.
It was. Yeah,
this
it was in that back. It was in there.
This was a crazy, disheveled mess of a movie.
Is this one of the ones where he fought the director?
Well, yeah, I think he fought pretty much everyone, and then like also like a really bad snowman habit on this movie.
Oh, yep.
He was like at his worst. They're shooting this in Thailand. Not the best place to be when you're sort of like skating out of control.
Yeah, when you're in that stage.
And then like this movie had so many characters that what was it, Capcom, the video game company?
Yep, it was Capcom.
Just wanted every single character in the movie, and the writers tried to explain to them as you can't make a movie with 13 leads. You have to choose who the lead is. I said, no, we want to focus all of them and let's squeeze more in there. And there's just so many characters, nobody really gets any space. Plus, nobody choreographed the fights. They just made them up. They literally, like, they made this movie in such a rush that they didn't even take time to choreograph the fights. They just, and you watch the movie, you can tell the way it's edited, the way it's put together. They're just making it up as they go.
And I feel like, yeah, they definitely, Jean-Claude would just be making up his own fight stuff as you go along. Do you feel like, how do you choreograph somebody like Jean-Claude in something like that? Because he's going to want to do Jean-Claude stuff, right?
Right, but he's supposed to be doing Guile stuff.
Right.
They didn't even capture any of their special finishing moves.
No.
They had to go back and add those. Because they just forgot to do it.
Yeah, which is a huge mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, when was the last time I feel like this would definitely be a Weird Wednesday Alamo. Have you seen it on the big screen?
I haven't seen it in a while. I think I caught some of it. I don't know where. I think when I had the cable channels. But like, I don't know. I don't know if this is a good rewatch. I think about it and it pains me to think of this movie.
Yeah. No, I remember being...
Can you believe Jean-Claude passed up being Johnny Cage
for this
to do Guile?
Yeah, he probably had a lot more control, because honestly I feel like, and yeah, we might as well jump into it because that's the next one on the list anyway. I feel like Mortal Kombat was the first time that you got the closest to the movie was as popular as the game, And ironically, the only reason I think that is the case is because of that song. That song
Oh,
changed.
that whole soundtrack.
The soundtrack is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I remember playing that CD to death. Like I remember I kept it and it had a crack in it, like the case, but I just kept playing it. And I knew it was going to be big because I forgot which Batman was in the theater at the time in 95. But
That
when
would be Batman Forever.
Batman Forever. Oh, yep. Because when that trailer came on, I think it was before Batman, and that song started playing. I remember I was on the road wrestling, so it's just in one of those small towns. I don't even remember where, and I just remember everybody getting up and just started dancing, and everyone's like Mortal Kombat all at once, and they're like dan 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 dan, and I was like, wow, this is gonna be big, and it was, and it was.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was that was only the fourth attempt at a video game adaptation, and that one kind of nailed it.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I think it's sort of limited by some of its weird, like wardrobe choices.
Yeah.
Like, why doesn't Raiden look like Raiden?
Right.
I thought that was a strange choice. I know they sort of like, I guess what they call it now, whitewashed it, right? Because it was played by Christopher Lambert.
Christopher Lambert.
Which they come in and he's Raiden, but just give him the
really
hat.
was,
I guess maybe that's what they didn't want to do. Now I get why they didn't give him the hat. Never mind. I think I just figured it out. But
well, we did a short on this, and it's if you go through our playlist, but you were talking about the weird similarities between Big Trouble in Little China and Mortal Kombat, how they just basically borrowed from it. But Big Trouble in Little China was first, and they had the hat with electricity coming out of it.
No, Mortal Kombat borrowed from Big Trouble in Little China.
100%.
Yeah.
But then this movie came later. It's just like, why couldn't you do the electricity with the hat? Because they already had done it before.
Right.
But man, I think Christopher Lambert, the whole coming off of Highlander, There Can Be Only One. Maybe it was just because I remember listening to that soundtrack over and over again of just like, exactly. I can hear it in a handful of people on a leaky boat are going to save the world. Exactly. It was just, there was a lot of quotable stuff, and it has begun, right? That was a big part of the movie too, and they kind of that was a big part of the game as well.
Yeah, and so that was that. I mean, mind you, Street Fighter made almost 100 mil, and in '94 that was good.
That is good.
But that's just on the because Jean-Claude was the biggest action star, I think, for that year. Mortal Kombat was kind of a hit, right? That got over 124 million. That was big in '94.
Yeah.
So they cranked out another one in like 6 weeks.
Fast.
As fast as they possibly could. That was Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which I never saw that one.
I remember that one. I was pretty disappointed in.
Yeah.
Because everybody was so happy with that first one. For that second one, because you got to remember, now we're talking about video games, and Mortal Kombat started doing the motion capture where a lot of the finishing holds and like the finish him stuff, and you can find that footage on YouTube. It's like just silent footage. They had real actors in studios, and then they were inserting that into the game.
Yeah.
Right. That's when we really started getting that bleed over of video game cutscenes basically being movies, was just those small little scenes. Now they're phenomenal. I don't know if the last time you've seen a finish him cutscene in Mortal Kombat, but man, it's pomp and circumstance.
Yeah, it's wild.
But back then it was a big deal, right? Get over here was such a big deal. Like that was another one. Like people popped in the theater when Scorpion was like, "Get over here!"
Right.
I was just like, wow. But I feel like the sequel back in the 90s like that was when sequels could go really bad and they were just cash grabs, and I feel like Annihilation kind of felt like that. Mm-hmm. But I also haven't seen it in a long time, but I feel like the box office felt that too.
It was fun and not corny.
Yeah.
I just don't remember it at all. Anyway, but it's sort of like I think now we get into sort of a lot of duds. There was a lot of duds because it took a long time before we really got to where these films were actually working and popular. And I'm looking at the list, and I'm talking like Wing Commander. I did not play Wing Commander. Was that a PC game?
Yeah, I don't remember Wing Commander. I didn't play it, or if I saw the movie.
But actually, no, I'm wrong. This is not.
Well, yeah, I think what. So this next stage is when they were actually trying to book an actor that was more accurate to the game. That, and actually a known actor, I should say, because I think Mortal Kombat did a good job of booking the actors to make them look similar.
Right.
But when
No stars, though.
exactly, and then when Lara Croft Tomb Raider, and they're like playing that video game, you're like, okay, I can totally see Angelina Jolie. They started doing their
Oh, and I'm
fantasy.
wrong. This was a big hit.
Yeah, it was
This was
good.
a huge hit.
Did you play the original Tomb Raider?
I didn't.
Oh
play
man,
Tomb Raider.
Tomb Raider was one of those games that you can just sit and get immersed in experience. And I think this, I felt like, is when it started, where people would sit over. This is probably where people who's like, I don't understand how you sit and watch video games. Somebody was sitting over your shoulder watching Tomb Raider because there was just something about it that was so comfortable, and you felt like you were watching a movie, right? And it was just like a beautiful Indiana Jones like woman going through these caves, and she's got these two pistols, and Hollywood's like, yeah, we need to book a star to do it, and they did right. They did right by it.
Yeah, she was big at the time. So you played this game?
I did.
So was there cutscenes in between levels that
Yeah.
explained the storyline? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So that's now you got material to work from. So I didn't know that Jean de Bon did the second one, and no, I'm sorry. Yeah, he did the second one. I don't know who Simon West is, but I feel like they got a bigger director for the second one. Do you know Simon West?
Yeah, he directed Con Air.
Simon West did Con Air?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. Also, he had a pretty...
He had some hits in the 90s. He was sort of a Michael Bay clone.
Oh, okay. So then yeah, he was very specifically booked for that role. So
Yeah.
that was his third movie second after Con Air. Well, that's cool. So yeah, I think the next two franchises were Resident Evil and Tomb Raider. Those two together were that generation of you can watch somebody play the video game and you're watching a movie. And I played the very first Resident Evil from beginning to end,
Yeah.
and it was great. I was actually living in true wrestler fashion. I was in Florida living in somebody's camper.
And you had a PlayStation?
Yeah, and I had a PlayStation there, so all the lights were off, and I played it all the way through. And you felt like the graphics were a little bit better than Tomb Raiders, and this was the first time I felt like, wow, I feel like we're playing a movie. This
Yeah.
is when things started changing, yeah. And Mila Jovovich was also hot at the time. I was like, that was just really, really great booking.
You know who actually developed and almost made the original Resident Evil film? That was George Romero.
Really?
Yeah, there's a script out there that they were developing. I'm not sure why it fell through. What happened?
Oh man.
But he was originally gonna take that on, which would have been interesting.
Yeah, that would have been a really good start, because obviously this Raccoon City really there was a lot of those elements that George Romero could have just done wonders with. But this first one was really good. Paul W.S. Anderson?
Yeah.
Like,
Who also did Mortal Kombat. He's like that's his specialty is video game movies at this point.
that's right. He did slam, but this was another one that was a hit, right?
Yeah, this one did pretty good. 102 million. That's great in early 2000s.
Yeah.
It wasn't until about 2006 or something where films just started making billions of dollars.
What are your feelings of the Resident Evil franchise as a whole? Not even talking about the game, the movies.
I don't like them.
No?
No, not really. I don't really like them. They just seemed like over stylized zombie films that I didn't really connect with. I didn't really play the game though, so there was nothing. I had no frame of reference to really uh, any reason to go see it. But I didn't like it.
Well, they're going to reboot this franchise, and I think they're going to try to get a little bit more game accurate. I don't think she was a character that was actually in the game, or if she wasn't the main character, if I
Yeah,
remember correctly. But you're right. This was definitely a little bit more like this wasn't. If you were comparing a ghost movie to something like 13 Ghosts, which I feel like felt a little bit more stylized, I guess, still good but stylized.
yeah,
I think that's all they did with her. But she was just so hot at the time, right? That it was just a slam dunk to go see her in there kicking ass. But I would be interested to see what they do with the reboot. But to me, she still pretty much resembles everything that came with the franchise. You think of her.
right. That's her franchise.
Yeah,
Mila
I think
Jovovich.
she's so. I don't know if a reboot. This is going to be, to me, it's like risky because I did like the girl that they booked to when they did the Tomb Raider reboot, and I didn't even dislike the movie, but it was just really hard to not think of Angelina Jolie. Like I feel like the torch wasn't passed properly, which happens a lot in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And it can hurt the film. But next up for me, this is when I started like there's this was a movie I wanted to see, and I heard it's terrifying. And I think you're the one you saw this, and I didn't see this, right? Didn't you see House of the Dead?
House of the Dead.
Yeah,
I saw House of the Dead. Yeah.
yeah. So this was based on the 2003 movie that's based on a video game.
Uh huh.
Do you remember much about it? I know it was a Sega game.
You should watch it. It's one of the worst films ever made.
Oh, really?
And I mean from every possible standpoint. And I don't know, I don't recall if it's bad enough to to watch enjoyably. Like this is so bad it's fun to watch. But it is like it's exceptionally bad.
Really? Because
You watch this movie, doesn't well. I don't even know. I don't know. Oh, I do remember the game. House of the Dead was the shooter at the arcade,
yeah,
right?
yep.
And I do remember playing that game. This film really has nothing to do with that. Like it's you can actually see if you watch the movie, the zombies, the fast running zombies. I don't know if these are zombies or what are they, but like you can see them jumping on springboards to like do stunts or whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Now this is Yui Bowl who he became notorious for just cranking out these really bad movies and always making a profit.
Yeah.
And he would grab these video game properties. He was onto it. He knew what IPs were worth before everybody else figured it out.
And I think you're right. I think this is like so that movie is probably when things started going south for video game movies. Like people are just like, no, this is not good. Because another one that I wanted to see that I never saw was Alone in the Dark, which was also done by him.
He did a bunch of them. This became his career for a while.
And that's all he did.
Yeah.
So was he just like making up backstories for the not going to it?
For the game. I don't think he was following the games at all. He basically was just using the title.
Oh yeah, see.
Let me yeah. I got to show I get House of the Dead also did something weird where I think this was just a way to save some effects cache, but they would actually shoot a zombie and they would cut to a zombie being killed in the game, like a shot from the video game. And that,
Really?
It's like the cops would fire at a zombie and then you'd see a zombie from the game, like an actual screen of the game, zombie dropping. This is how. I'll show you some clips. I wish we could play the clips in the show.
Oh man, yeah, I don't know. If so yeah, I wasn't familiar with that director either. But you said that's pretty much all he did for a while. He's a West Germany guy. What's the rest of his?
He was serious. He used to come to Fantastic Fest, and he used to which we're get to go to this year.
Yes.
They do the Fantastic Debates where they debate and then they box after.
Oh yeah.
So he actually came in for when he was at Fantastic Fest, and he debated a critic and then boxed him, and seriously hurt him.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, I wouldn't mess with this dude. Yeah, he looks pretty serious.
I think they did an entire documentary about him boxing one of his critics. Anyway, Yui Boll was a force to be. I mean, I'm pretty sure
This guy looks like he would be like a UFC fighter, though.
Yeah.
From from West Germany. Yeah.
You don't want to fight somebody named Uwe Boll.
No,
At all.
He totally seems like wasn't he on last season of Ultimate Fighter? Oh man.
But
well, next up, I think it's safe to say in between a lot of these movies, you can just pepper in another Resident Evil. They just started churning them out by then. Because, you had House of the Dead, another Resident Evil, Alone in the Dark. And then this next one that I'm kind of curious on your take of it. This was 2005. Doom. Carl Urban and Dwayne Johnson before he got his rights to call himself The Rock back. So he was just Dwayne Johnson. But this was a big deal, right? Because Doom as a first-person POV video game that they was like, you know what, we're gonna actually shoot some of the movie scenes in first person like that.
I didn't see Doom.
No, you didn't see it.
No.
Oh,
I was more of a Duke Nukem guy.
Duke Nukem.
So why has that not been a film? I feel like that is so.
Yeah, I
so
was actually looking it up. I was like, wait, was there a Duke Nukem?
No, there has not been a Duke Nukem. Cena would be perfect for Duke Nukem. Why has he not done Duke Nukem?
No, man. Yeah, he would be great.
I did not see Doom, so I'm not sure. It was pretty bad.
I mean, it wasn't memorable for having Carl Urban and 2005 Carl Urban and Dwayne Johnson in there. You would want it to be a little bit more memorable, but I mean, it didn't. It barely made its budget back, so it was pretty not memorable. But that poster right there, that was such a big deal. And they're like, okay, this is when Rock, this was probably a little bit after his cameo in The Mummy. And they're like, oh, maybe this guy could be Hollywood. And he did a couple of his jungle movies, and then he did Doom. But, yeah, it didn't. I would put this along the lines of those movies when they just started churning them out, and I don't think they were really they didn't really crack the code like they did with Mortal Kombat and Tomb Raider.
Right.
Like they did with Doom. Oh, you're right. Yui Boll did another one, Blood Rain.
He did Blood Rain, and he did
Postal.
Postal, which is Postal. Do you know what Postal is?
Isn't that just the guy at the post office going? That was a video game, right? He's going postal. Just the mailman goes crazy.
Is that what the game is? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Postal.
Because it was a big deal. Because I think the government was kind of against that, right? Because you're just like, they didn't want to have known that their people who work for them can go crazy. He's going postal. That's where it came from, right? The term. But I don't think looking at this poster or anything, I don't think it has anything to do with that.
No, I don't think it has any.
Because it's like the film begins with the showing fictional portrayal of two of the hijacker. Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah. No, read it.
I don't know if will we get dinged for bringing that up. I don't know. Two of the hijackers from Flight 11 during the attacks debating the number of virgins they get for rewarded for carrying out the attacks.
Yeah.
What?
So I don't think this has anything to do with the game.
I was like, I never played that video game before. Holy crap. I had no idea.
In the Postal game, players assume the role of the Postal Dude, a man who goes on a killing spree throughout the fictional town of Paradise, Arizona. So this is basically school shooter, a video game.
Right. Which, for whatever reason, there was a time period that everybody who worked at the post office, they thought went crazy
Right.
and just started attacking everybody.
Right.
But
Because it happened several times.
I just don't know why. I feel like he made something completely different, though.
No, it has nothing. This has nothing to do with the post office.
Nothing.
That's what I'm telling you. It's like the game Postal is just you play a man who goes on a shooting spree.
Yeah.
That's what the video gameplay is.
Yeah, it was like Paperboy, but with not throwing newspapers at people.
Exactly. That's it. So anyway, that was another Ooey Bowl one.
Ooey Bowl.
But and like you said, we had the Resident Evil there. Silent Hill did fine. That made some money. I never played Silent Hill.
Did you watch Silent Hill?
No.
But that that would have been in the 80s to have that VHS box of that eerie girl coming up to that "Welcome to Silent Hill" sign. That would have been box art that you were like, that looks interesting.
Yeah, I guess so.
So,
but I never saw Silent Hill, and even though that was written by Roger Avery, I believe, and
oh yeah,
but I just never got around to seeing it. And then
great box art.
And then you mentioned Hitman.
Yeah, this was another one. Again, this is when video games really started leaning into even more so of the violence. But this was a really popular video game. Like, oh, this is a really big deal. As a hitman, you can come behind somebody in the video game and choke them with the piano wire.
That's what the gameplay was?
Yeah, you can
So you're literally assassinating people.
Yeah, you can. It's a lot of hand to hand. I mean, you hitman, you take them out however you can get them. So I thought, I'm a fan and still am a fan of Timothy Oliphant. So I thought the booking of it was really good. But I just feel like something was missing. But it did really well. I mean, it didn't lose any money. Do you remember anything about Hitman?
I've never played the game, never seen the film.
Neither?
Nah.
And I know they had a couple of sequels that weren't as good, but I remember, I didn't play the game, but I did see the movie.
So I should have told you this before the show, but I had 8-bit Nintendo, and that was it.
That was it.
That was the last game system I had
never...
until I got a Switch recently.
Oh yeah, I see. You got the Switch right here.
Yeah.
So you never did any Sega or Genesis, any of those?
No,
really.
No. Now I had friends that had them, obviously, and I'd play sometimes. But this was I think by the not when it got to these storytelling games, these are just not the kind of games you play over at somebody's house. These are spending 8 hours in your bed alone playing these type of games. So just never really did any of these. So
no, and I mean, the next generation of and I would even say it probably falls into more my younger brother probably had more of those advantage. Like a lot, he would get these games, and so it kind of probably prolonged my video game playing, maybe longer than it should have. But that's when I feel like that's when it started getting into those deeper stories. The Resident Evil and and Hitman, and you were following. Although, man, I did play me some Splinter Cell. Maybe that would be a great movie too. So that was the first one. Splinter Cell was you were basically a mercenary for hire, and you were on an island. It was almost like the story of Commando, and you're trying to raid this island. But what made that different was the games were evolving that if you took somebody out and you didn't hide the body, you could inadvertently set off alarm and your game would be over. So you had to take the time to not only take these characters out and then the code didn't just disperse them. You had to take the time to go over there, pick up their body, and then go hide it in the dark or hide it in a closet so you can continue playing the game. It forced you to clean up after yourself.
Wow. I didn't know that.
So I don't know, and this was probably early 2Ks, and there was rumors of that movie being made for a long time, similar to what Contra. For a long time, there was the rumor. You probably did. We played Contra on the show, remember? And there was the rumor for a long time that that was going to be a Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger deal of just like of them playing Contra, and that was another one that just never happened.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Splinter Cell. There was a rumor for a long time. There was right around the time of 24 with Jack Bauer, and it had that feel to it too. And they're like, oh, this would be like trying to bring Kiefer Sutherland to take his 24 character, and he can be Splinter Cell. But that never happened. But let's keep going along here. 20th Century Fox had like a big block of films that came right out in a row, like, and ones I've never heard of. And if you didn't have the game, you probably it's a few more Yui Bowl ones. In the Name of the King, A Dungeon Siege Tale, and Far Cry. Now, Far Cry I heard of. I never played it, but I heard of it. But
It made a whopping $743,000.
really, so that was it for him. Wow, on a $30 million budget. And I have no idea if this stuck to the game story at all or not.
I never played Far Cry either, so I
No.
don't know.
No, I don't know even that. So we're getting into the late 2000s. You had Max Payne, another Street Fighter attempt that we didn't see. Now this was a big one. Tekken. Tekken was awesome. We've talked about Tekken on here before, right? Because that's when they had a character in Tekken that was basically Jackie Chan's drunken master character as a detective. But this was another one that did. I don't think they booked it properly and didn't book the story because it cost $30 million and they only made one.
Right.
So I think we're getting to the point where Hollywood never cracked the code.
They would just have something random that would get over, but they weren't making. Although Warcraft made almost $500 million.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Because the people who played
The
Warcraft.
Resident Evils are always a lock. Prince of Persia, with Jake Gyllenhaal, made $330 million, but Resident Evil Afterlife made $300 million. Wow. Paul W.S. Anderson is set from these Resident Evil
Yeah.
movies.
That's what I mean. I think they're going to have. It's going to be really tough to go back and do those Resident Evils and not think of him. Like, they almost got to find a way to requel these, I think, is the way to go.
Sure, I guess. Or just write an original film.
Yeah, there's that too. there's that idea. So, RJ is a huge. He was like, he needed a 12-step program to quit Warcraft, like World of Warcraft, and he did not like the movie at all. I think he did. I don't even know. We should probably call him, but we'd have to. I don't know how fast you would be on the to beat the profanity.
Didn't like Warcraft.
No.
I don't know what that's about at all.
No. So yeah, and then after that, then like we talked about the reboot of Tomb Raider, which the girl that they booked, Elisa Vikander, she was good. I mean, I just don't. And it made box office. I just think that a lot of people, maybe by then, the shine has been taken off on here. But this is when things start taking a turn for video game movies again. And it starts, ironically, with the Rock, right, with Rampage.
Now, I remember the video game Rampage.
Yeah.
You were like a kaiju kind of a deal.
Yep.
Climbing buildings and knocking them down.
Yep. And
Right?
eating the people. Yeah.
And eating the people.
Yeah.
Right? And the object of the game was to knock all the buildings down throughout the city.
Yep.
And what was so the movie was what now?
Same thing, but they made the kaiju one. I think the gorilla kaiju George was like the Deep Blue Sea of gorillas. Like him and Rock had a relationship, and they made him a little bit more of a baby face. But the other two kaijus were straight up heels. So you weren't playing. So they were trying to stop them. You didn't get the perspective of the kaijus trying to do that, to do their thing.
What a weird idea for a movie.
I was really, I just feel like the way to do this is you should have made all the kaijus baby faces, all of them, not just the one. And I think that's what was confusing because you had The Rock trying to stop these kaijus, but if you were playing the video game, The Rock would get eaten. Right?
Yeah.
So that would be the end of it. But it's still, everybody was really into The Rock then, so it did really well.
Pretty good. Almost $500 million.
Yeah. But now we're getting to, these, like, the generations, and I think we're hitting that now, that they really have a kinship to these games that they grew up with. And this is one that was beyond my time, which was Pokemon. But they never did, like, a live action, but they had the Detective Pikachu. Pikachu. I don't know. I can't say that.
That was a live action film.
It was, right?
Yeah.
But he was animated, right? Like, was it Roger Rabbit style?
Well, I mean, he was a CGI character.
He was CGI, right?
Yeah. But that's still live action.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, Ryan Reynolds was the voice too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think Pokemon is pretty much like holy sacred grounds for you to be messing with anything that's going to be related to Pokemon. You better bring it. Like, they're not going to be as forgiving as fans were of Street Fighter, right? Because you're like more throwaway. Because I mean, millennials right now spend thousands and thousands of dollars still collecting Pokemon cards. Like, they're not playing them anymore. They're collecting them. Like, have you ever seen Logan Paul come to the ring with his diamond encrusted case that has his Pokemon 1 of 1 card around his neck? That's worth a shit ton of cash.
I have seen that.
Yeah. So you can't make a movie, and if you do, you better not screw it up. Like, you better not roll the dice on something. And I feel like that was a little bit of a safer play, but you still got to also, for the kids. But I think this is similar to, you said this in Minecraft, like a Minecraft movie may create a war.
Yeah.
That was one of the shorts in there, and I would have put Pokemon in that vein as well.
Well, I think people like Detective Pikachu. I don't know why was he a detective exactly? Is this a separate game?
I don't know. I don't know. Again, I never played any Pokemon, and I never watched any of the animated shows, so I don't know. We'd have to get an expert in here to actually explain why he was a detective. Tim Goodman gave up his dream of being a Pokemon trainer following the death of his mom and estrangement from his dad, a police detective who moved to Rhyme City, where humans and Pokemon live together in harmony and Pokemon battles are outlawed. Well, now I'm kind of interested.
No idea. I thought the movie would be about cards or something.
No. I don't know, man. Maybe this is their Super Mario's, that they're just like, let's just do something completely different.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought that the Detective Pikachu was actually a version of Pokemon, like a game where Pikachu solves crimes. But anyway, that happened.
Yeah. And then we had, I think the Pandy kind of changed things a little bit too, because two big video games that came out during that time period was the first Sonic the Hedgehog, which did really, really well, but that was literally
just ahead of it.
Right, yeah, it was just ahead of it. And it was enough that it's still, and it kind of like Jim Carrey You know, he kind of had a change of heart of the type of movies he made, and you know, in Kick-Ass 2, he was the guy that had all the pistols, and then he kind of wanted. He's like, you know what? I don't want to do it anymore because I don't believe in gun violence. And he wanted to pull his name off, and then he was the heel in this one. Now he said he would be happy if he did nothing but make Sonic the Hedgehog movies the rest of his life.
Yeah, why not? He probably gets a huge percentage of those profits, and those are all hits.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think those are pretty much just like nostalgia bait. That's what folks really dig about this, you know?
Yeah, there's a third one coming actually this Christmas.
There's a show too.
Yeah.
There's a show on one of the streamers with Sonic. But yeah, I mean, this is just in the vein of like Super Mario Brothers. We are seeing this live action character come to life. But I think the thing that makes these, or at least Sonic, sort of interesting is that they don't have a storyline they really have to adhere to.
No.
They're not just refilming cutscenes from a movie. You know, they've got characters that they can do stuff with, and of course you've got Jim Carrey carrying the load.
Now, although what they did have was a very passionate fan base, and I think you might have showed me the controversy of like they released some concept art for what Sonic looked like at first, and there was such a huge blowback of how Sonic looked like that they went back and fixed it. And hindsight being 2020, they better thank their lucky stars that they actually, in this case, listened to the fan base.
That's why you always ask for feedback. Yeah. Look, here is before and afters of Sonic. So it didn't look anything like it.
Look at his like, can you imagine? Like that Sonic movie would have just been a meme if they did that. But just that little bit of change of what they did with the eyes, it was game over.
Yeah. Like
it changed everything. And now it's probably like $1 billion franchise.
Getting there.
Yeah.
But this is something from everybody's youth. And Sonic is one of those timeless games that just goes on. They remake it forever, right?
Yeah.
So there'll always be Sonic. I think you got Sonic Track and Field is a popular one right now.
Yeah.
But I didn't see this one either.
No.
No.
I did see the first one. They did a good job. No heat with it. I probably did watch it because of the pandy, because then it got this, like, you just stayed at home and watched movies.
You had no choice.
So Mortal Kombat, right? This was one of the ones that lost the benefit of a true theatrical release, right? But it did get some later on. But this was a big deal that you got to actually watch this on HBO Max, and they were pretty furious because they thought if it had went to theaters that it would have. I think they released it into theaters later.
This was the first one, right?
Yeah.
Of HBO's direct to Max films.
Yeah.
Man, that was a terrible idea, and it probably bankrupted their studio now, and they're going to go out of business.
It's a shame.
Have to sell, but. Man, it was cool when those movies would drop at 2 a.m.
Yeah, it was, right?
During the pandy, and you had nothing to do and nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And that would drop at 2 a.m, and it was like a party. Streamers were up having viewing parties, and everybody was tweeting about it. It just felt like an event.
I mean, think of like you had Mortal Kombat, Dune, The Matrix. You had all these movies that you were gonna like. You didn't even have to leave your house to rewatch it.
Yeah.
To watch, not to rewatch it, to get the original viewing.
Yeah. Suicide Squad.
Yeah, Suicide Squad was another one.
And the biggest, I think the biggest one of all is probably Snyder Cut. But
yeah. Didn't Dune do something where they're like, we're going to just pause and wait, and they like sued so it didn't, and then it didn't air, and they got a true theatrical release? They weren't part of this day and date drop thing?
No, I think they were day and date. Everything that year was day and date.
They did?
Yeah, everything in 2021, all of it.
Man. Yeah, it would suck. But did you watch, I guess you did watch this Mortal Kombat. Do you remember much about it?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Like, the trailer was great. You got to see how Jax lost his arms, and that was such a draw.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
The only thing, I gotta say, the thing that I the only thing I disliked about this movie was the main lead, who is not a character from the game.
Yeah, that was weird. That was a weird choice.
And he has strange abilities that I don't like. Right? Like he turns into a hard shell?
Yeah.
Or something like that?
Yep.
Yeah, I hated that. Why is that in there?
It didn't make any sense, and it felt unnecessary. Like maybe back in the day when you didn't really understand, and maybe the fan base for gaming back in the '90s were different than now. Like these are going to be all educated people that you don't even need origin stories anymore. Let's face it, most people are your fans are gonna understand, or they're gonna research, or they're gonna watch everything you need to know about blank before you go see blank.
Yeah.
So that was a weird choice to just like randomly come up with some kind of Cousin Oliver, but he's going to be the lead. Okay, it's Cousin Oliver, but he's actually going to play Greg.
Right.
It's like, wait, what?
And I know there's a lot of lore in these games, and each one as they come out adds even more lore, right? You know, just different dimensions and other worlds. But for me, in order to make this movie, the Mortal Kombat I would like to see would have to be just Bloodsport with the Mortal Kombat characters.
Yeah, that's all they had to do.
That's it.
That's it. That's all you had to do.
That's all the movie has to be.
Yeah.
And it's just I don't know. It just really makes things too complicated for my taste.
It makes you wonder why somebody just didn't show them Bloodsport. And it's like, okay, imagine this, but now you're going to be in a place, maybe it's a different world, a different dimension, where these characters are just going to fight each other in an underground tournament with
Yeah,
no
and that's
explaining.
it.
Which the first movie kind of got into that more than this one did.
Yeah.
Right?
It did. No, that's what I'm saying. Mortal Kombat 95 almost nails it,
Yeah.
except with some weird wardrobe choices.
Right.
But why? Yeah, it's just I don't know. Hopefully, I think the sequel is going to be more of the actual tournament. We got no tournament in this one.
No, there was no tournament.
So why not? Yeah, okay. Anyway, it was fine, but let's not bring back the lead. Let's just say went back to his home planet or whatever. Do the Poochie goodbye.
To the Poochie.
My
I hope they
my
do.
planet needs me.
I hope they do Poochie him.
Yeah, and just like and then we're gonna have Carl Urban as Johnny Cage in the new one. So let's just run with that.
Yeah, that's great booking. I can totally get behind that.
That's great booking.
Yeah. And the last two that we can talk about they were huge monster hits. One I did play, one I didn't play. Uncharted was a massive hit for Sony, right? And they were just coming off of originally Mark Wahlberg had this in development for a long time that he wanted to play the lead, and then Spider-Man came out, and then things changed.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, like, oh, let's just book Tom Holland. But I remember seeing that in theaters, never playing the game, and being pretty happy with the film. Like, I didn't dislike it. I liked the whole Indiana Jones and the one-upsmanship between these two guys. I enjoyed it. Did you like this one?
I didn't see this.
Oh, you didn't see Uncharted?
No.
Oh, wow. And I think a sequel is cooking up here. But yeah, I'd be curious of what you thought about it.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I'm starting to realize I don't have any interest in video game movies.
Yeah, I think
It peaked at Super Mario Brothers 93.
Yeah, and I guess the best video game adaptations, if you do it right, is if you didn't realize there was a game to begin with, and anybody can just kind of walk in. And if you play the game, you benefit from it. But if there's probably a bunch of people that watched Uncharted that had no idea it was based on a video game. It felt like that for me because I never played it. But this last one I did play because it was just one of those mobile, like, small games, and that was Five Nights at Freddy's, which growing up in the 80s, if you were Chuck E. Cheese or Showbiz Pizza Palace, everybody was all about what if the animatronics come to life and they look like the banana splits have flipped out. I think these animatronics became what clowns became. Because remember, clowns used to be baby faces. You tell people that now and they don't believe you. Clowns, maybe they were always terrifying, but they were never setting out to be terrifying until 1990 with the original It. And then it
Yeah.
was game over, and then Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Right.
And then now they're just.
Well, yeah, it, and then also you had serial killers dressed as clowns.
Yeah, and that didn't
rampaging
help.
through the 80s.
Right. And then it flipped. But that was back then. Like, could you believe a serial killer would take the character of somebody who brings joy? If you go to Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey, and you'd love for the clowns to do it, but then you were terrified. But Five Nights at Freddy's, I think, did a really good job with the video game. The movie was good, but it could have been way better. There was some stuff that just follow the lead. Just follow the video game, and you would be fine. But I would suggest for people to watch this first, but I was a little bit painted because I watched Nicolas Cage, Willy's Wonderland
Which
first.
is a far superior film. let's be
Yeah,
honest.
it is. Unfortunately, it didn't have, not unfortunately, but it kind of took a little bit of that shine from this movie, because this movie you should have walked out of Five Nights at Freddy feeling the same way that you felt like when you pulled up Hulu and you watched Willy's Wonderland, because it was supposed to be kind of a little scary, but it also be a little fun. Where this one starts to get a little bit of it leaned into the heat, and you had Matthew Lillard, who was pretty happy that he got another scary movie franchise to play the main heel in this. But I still liked it, and it made enough money that a sequel is coming. Sequel is coming next year.
Sure, that made plenty. That was another. It made a lot of money, and it was also a direct drop as well.
Yeah.
So everybody had to get out and see it. It didn't really work for me. I didn't enjoy it. Like I said, Willy's Wonderland, far superior film.
It was really
Far
good.
better execution of that concept. And also, I like animatronic robots. I am not afraid of them. I enjoy them.
They're not heels for you yet.
No, I enjoy them. I think they're great. Have you ever seen, you remember Showbiz Pizza?
Oh,
right?
yeah.
That was the original animatronics
Yeah.
place.
Are you going to talk about the documentary of the guy who made those?
Yes,
Yeah, I've seen that.
the Rockefeller explosion.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
That documentary was awesome, just to see that this guy came up with this whole brand new technology, which were these just giant animatronics. And the thing that worked about the animatronics that were so awesome, and you wouldn't think it was that big deal, when you're sitting there at Showbiz or Chuck E. Cheese later on, when you were sitting there and they were just sitting there in the dark, it still felt like you were in a very special place. Even when they were off and the lights were off and they were just staring ahead, it still felt special.
Well, I mean, I don't recall them staring ahead. They had a curtain.
Yeah, but
The thing was curtained off.
You just peeked behind the curtain, though, right?
Yeah, I guess you would.
Yeah,
Wasn't there?
just-
Do you remember? Wasn't there like a room next to the stage? I'm having Showbiz Pizza flashbacks. Anyway, no, I can't recall what I'm trying to come up.
No, but there was it
room
made it
next
look
to the
like there was,
stage, right?
yeah, that it made it feel like it was their dressing room, like they were back there.
There was something like that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there was that was the big draw. It just felt like it was special. Like these guys are just like going on to perform. So I'm not surprised that as a kid somebody just sat there. What if they were alive? Or
Well, I mean,
what if they're alive at
it
night?
blew your mind when they said your name.
Yeah, exactly.
When it was your birthday and they said your name.
Yeah.
How did they do that? They had pre-programmed thousands of names back then.
Yeah. Oh man. No, that was great. That's a really good documentary. We should link that in there. I loved watching that. But yeah, man, that's just a bit. We got more coming up. They're making another Mortal Kombat. Minecraft. We'll see if it doesn't destroy the world as your prediction. Another Sonic, another Freddy's. Oh, they're gonna go to the well again for another Street Fighter. But maybe the go home spot was I know like you said, your video game playing was kind of like limited. You said you didn't really after the 8-bit Nintendo, but like, are there any games that you remember that you'd be like, that would be a cool movie?
The video game that I would like to book as a movie. Let me look it up. I've actually thought about this a lot, and I want to find the rights to this. Like I said, I didn't have anything past 8-bit Nintendo, but of course my younger siblings did. So it's not like it wasn't around. This game, have you ever heard of this game? Super Smash TV.
No.
Super Smash TV.
Is that the Running Man?
It's essentially the Running Man, and I think someone might have based this off of the Stephen King story. I don't know,
They borrowed it.
but it's essentially the Running Man,
Oh, wow.
and it was a stand-up first. I remember the stand-up. Yeah. So essentially,
Oh, there was a stand-up for
yeah,
it?
you're trying to survive.
wow.
You're in a game show where the object of the game is to survive.
That's dope.
So I don't know who owns the rights to this IP. I don't know why you would be making this now. I think this is a great idea.
Yeah, honestly, this could live in the world right next to the Running Man and be totally fine. Which I just read today. The Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney are signing on for the remake of the Running Man. It's going to be Edgar Wright. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
I'm interested. I mean, it's going to be tough to top that first one. I wish they would kind of make it a requel. But the Running Man felt like a video game movie, even though it wasn't.
The Running Man is one of my favorite early Arnold pieces.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
It's great.
Yeah. But it always felt like this was... I would put this with... Okay, here it is. So we'll make this... So the top 3... Well, I think we did a version of this before. Top 3 movies that felt like video games but weren't video games would have to be Tron, Game of Death,
Game of Death?
and The Running Man.
You mean Bruce Lee's Game of Death?
Yeah,
Okay.
right? That felt like that should have been a video game, which, again, later on it did become a video game, kinda, when the 8-bit Nintendo had Kung Fu. Remember that screen scroller? Dung, 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 and all you can do is sweep the leg, jumping kick, punch, or kick, and then you'd beat... That's where I think they got the term final boss, because you had the final boss at the end of the hallway. You beat him up, and then you went up the stairs. That's pretty much what Bruce Lee did in that movie, right?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
And then he worked his way to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah, I guess you're right. So the Running Man, Game of Death, and
The granddaddy of them all, Tron. We got to talk about Tron. You can't have a show about video game movies because I was telling you the story of this, which Tron was good.
you know what's cool about Tron when you think about it? At the time this is made, right? You know what games people were playing at home? It was Pong.
Yeah, that's wild, right?
So this is basically this entire story. This entire story is taking place inside of a computer where two people are playing Pong, and it's represented by these characters, firing a disc at each other.
Right? That's amazing, like how ahead of their time it is. And I think we should play it. I sent you the link. Maybe roll the dice. I mean, this is the generation we're talking about. We're talking about Kieran Culkin, Pedro Pascal, and they're talking about The Last of Us. And Jeff Bridges is sitting there at the table, and he says, "You guys talking about video game movies? I got sucked into a video game once," and they totally no-sold his joke.
Where's the timestamp?
Oh, it's about halfway through. You just jump it about halfway through. It'll be Pedro Pascal talking, and he goes on for a little bit, but then Jeff Bridges actually chimes in. I don't know if you can play it. If not, we'll just... Oh, yeah, there we go.
What game is it? It's called The Last of Us. Is it out now? Oh my God. Because I got sucked into a video. Which one? Tron. That's Tron. One of the original video game adaptations. Right, man. That movie came out when there were arcades in the cinemas.
My gosh.
Still arcades in the cinemas? Shot in 70 millimeter black and white, all hand-tinted things. The director, Steven Lisberger, who wrote it and everything. first time, that was his first movie. He lined the sound stages with video games.
Yeah.
You know, the first time director, you can imagine everybody's like, get to work. I'm prepping, man. I'm prepping for my film.
Yeah. I grew up in the arcade.
Okay.
Dude, that's pretty wild though, right? Like they totally no-sold. He started off as a joke, and then they no-sold it. So then he went into like a serious story that, like you said, 1982. Like I don't even know if Atari might have just like late 70s. You had Atari and television just coming home, and Tron was in there. And Tron Legacy should have done way better than it did. And I think they're gonna storm the castle again with that, with another Jared Leto in part 3, and then they're gonna have another de-aged Jeff Bridges in there. But man, this was early Disney too, right? Disney owned this always straight up, right?
Yeah, this was Disney.
That it was just such a big deal. But we played on Intellivision. I played Tron Deadly Discs, which was great because it was just like after the movie, they're like, oh, let's turn this into like a video game, and Intellivision got the rights to
The
it.
Tron stand-up game was great.
Yeah.
It had like all the like 4 different contests you could do.
Yeah, the light cycles, right? They had the light cycles in there too, which was Snake. So, this will always have a warm place in your heart if you're a fan of video games, and if you're a fan of movies, it has to be. You have to talk about Tron. But the movie came, then they turned it into a game, so that kind of inspired it. But did you like Tron Legacy?
I thought it was fine. I don't, I gotta be honest. When I go back and watch Tron, I don't love Tron either.
Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, I don't know. It's you appreciate it because of the, it's got great actors and it's got really cool looking old school effects. But yeah, it's not super fun to watch.
Maybe that's true. I haven't watched it in a long time, but I kind of felt that with the second one too. So maybe
So it's pretty similar.
maybe they did honor it, and I think the whole thing that was kind of confusing me at the time, and we talked about this on the show before, right? Like as time goes on and your brain starts to evolve, you start to understand concepts that you didn't understand before. So you can go back and watch a piece of content that had a higher concept that you didn't get, and now you kind of get it. I think that happens in Tron. Like I don't even think I understood in 1982 what they meant by, you were playing an avatar, right? I had no idea. It's just like, oh, that's not me, that's my avatar. Like I had no idea. And I think they really got into that now. And I think it's interesting that, in 2024, we were just talking about this earlier, how everything is kind of converging into like this same media where video games and movies were separate. And I think they are combining. But there's also kind of like this variant universe that's happening where it's just like, it's going to be theaters, 35 millimeter handwritten script, and we're going to show it here. But then you have this other world or you can go here where you actually can be a part of the movie and not have to be an actor. You're going to get sucked into the movie like Tron. And that's where we're going to be at. And like, how is entertainment going to compete with that now? Like where you're talking about leader, how do you compete with that? You either, if you can't beat them, join them, and then, movie theaters as we love them will still be there, but they're going to be like revival houses for all movies.
Sidebar: how many years was it before you realized Jeff Bridges was not named Tron?
A long time.
A long time.
A long time. Like, yeah, it's just like a long time. So I just didn't even understand, like, because that's why I was confusing. I'm like, wait, he's not Tron? And I didn't understand that at the time. Oh, man. So the TLDR of this entire show is we don't know if we're going to go see Borderlands. Because this is either going to be Mortal Kombat great, or it's going to be something like you replaced Eli Roth with Yui Boa.
Here's the thing. I'm not going to go see Borderlands at the theater. I can tell you right now, I'm not. But I will see it. That's gonna be for me once it hits the Peacock or the Paramount, whichever one it'll be on, or
Fast.
HBO. I'll see it then. You know,
And it probably will hit those fast, right?
it depends if it depends how well it does, right?
Well, it's going to have to compete with Deadpool and Wolverine Weekend 3, which I think is still going to do big box office. But I'm curious. I forgot to ask you this, and maybe I don't know if I did ask you this or not. After losing Eli Roth, do you think they intentionally tried to make this look like Guardians of the Galaxy to try to get that same feeling of like, oh, this could be fun. Come see this in theaters. You're going to have a good time.
Okay, so I think we discussed this at one point, but yeah, I think that whoever they hired, whatever company they hired to make the trailer, definitely got the directive to say, hey, make this feel like Guardians of the Galaxy. And they nailed it. They completely understood the assignment.
Yeah.
And they did that. And the trailer plays exactly like that. It's got the needle drops. It's got the one-liners. It just feels like it's right there.
The poster
The
too.
poster.
The poster
So
has that feel.
Everything
as well.
about this makes me feel, it just screams to me, Swerve. That this film is probably not that. And they have just cut a trailer to give it that vibe to pull us in. It takes a lot for them to do reshoots without the director there. Like that is like there's rules. Directors Guild has rules.
Yeah.
Okay? And for them to completely say, Eli Roth, we don't need you for these reshoots. You can work on your VR thing. As a matter of fact, don't come back. Just don't come. Do not come.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then they just brought in one of the John Wick guys to film additional scenes. So I think that this movie is probably, if I had to guess, put on my prediction hat, I think this is probably
A swerve.
a swerve. I think this is probably a dumpster fire that they're trying to make their money back on. Some money back on. I wouldn't be surprised if Jack Black was not intended to be the voice of that robot, and they added him last minute, since Jack Black is a draw.
Yeah.
I bet Kevin Hart's character is not funny in this movie.
Kevin Hart's problem is sometimes he's just Kevin Hart in a movie.
Well, yeah, he's Kevin Hart. But
Yeah, and that's
basically
hard.
He just does Kevin Hart.
He's just, I mean, he's a great entertainer. So that's not a slight on him, but it almost like it's kind of the same with The Rock, right? That could be problematic. You gonna get lost in the role. But
Yeah.
you're right. I guess that there's nothing that stopped that changed that voice to Jack Black.
Yeah. So,
But you got Kate Blanchett and Jamie Lee Curtis and Gina Gershon. Now, Gina Gershon was definitely Eli Roth booking, for sure.
oh right, because she was just in Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm not. I think that this movie is probably going to be a swerve. I think that the trailer is misleading. It's not the movie we're going to get, and I'll probably, like I said, I'll wait to see it in a few months. I need to leave things. I feel like I need to leave certain things to just watch when they hit streaming. Otherwise, there's nothing to watch on streaming.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm glad I never saw Madam Web in the theater. I saw it on Netflix, and I was like, you know what, this is fine.
Yes, right. That's what I mean.
I don't mean like I definitely a bad movie, but just it was enjoyably bad, I guess, to watch. I don't think it'll be a cult classic like you were predicting.
I wanted the midnight showing of
I don't-
Madam Web.
I don't think it's gonna reach that status. I think it's just regular bad, but it was great watching it on Netflix. It's like, oh look, Madam Web is on Netflix. What a treat! I'll watch it now. So I'll watch Borderlands in a few months.
And if it doesn't do well, it's going to be probably less than 30 days. You'll be seeing it anyway.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe, I mean, some of these, if it doesn't do well in theaters, there's quick turnaround time that they try to make that that cash back.
Yeah.
It used to be, right? Is this movie theater worthy? Is this Blockbuster video rental worthy? Or do you wait for it to be on HBO? Or do you wait for network TV to get it and you watch it with commercials?
Yeah.
Now the tier is it's going to theaters, or you can wait for it to come at home and pay double that you would have paid for your movie ticket, or you wait for it to one of the streamers to actually say, you know what, screw it, we're just going to drop it right on our stream right away.
I think folks not into the $20 rental, the $25
No,
rental.
well, no, I don't think so.
Because I guess if you get 2 movie tickets, that's going to be over $25.
Yeah.
But
I think we've talked about this before, right? If there's more than 3 people that you would have had to pay for your tickets to go there, that $20 rental probably would pay for itself. I go to the movies by myself all the time, so then it's just like, well, you're asking me to pay triple than I would have paid if I would have just went to the theater and bought myself a ticket. So I guess it depends on how many movie tickets do you have to buy for your friends and family to determine if that's worth it. I haven't done that's called like SVOD, right? Superior? What is the
premium VOD?
Premium PVOD?
I think so, yeah.
So it's a little bit, it still could be in theaters, but you can rent it at home to do it.
Yeah.
You've done those?
Yeah, I mean, well, those came out during the pandy, and that's all we had.
Oh yeah, during the
time.
pandy, Bill and Ted say the Bill and Ted one.
I did for some reason, Lucialotti wanted to see the Bob Marley movie, and I was just like, I pulled it up, and I was like, well, I'm gonna rent it. I was like, I might as well just buy it. I'll just keep it. And that was a bad idea. I was like, oh man, this movie's awful. I was like, I wish I wouldn't have bought this. Now I hate that it's in my library.
That it's in your queue.
It's in my library with all my stuff. I was like, And it's not like and the thing is, this is why physical media, it's not like you can't take it to the resale shop and get rid of it, get it out of your collection. I can't even delete it. It just sits there.
Yeah, you can't get rid of it.
Laughing at me. I was like, I wish I would have just paid the $6.99 to watch it once.
I know you do have heat with streaming, so now I can see that's definitely that sticks a little bit harder too.
Yeah, like imagine you have like a DVD collection that you arrange perfectly, and then like you can't move it, and you just one DVD you can't stand, and you can't get it out of there.
Yeah,
in between, whatever. It's for some reason it's just in between John Wick 3 and 4. It's just stuck in there.
We've all done the bargain bin buys, back when we had our DVDs. And like, why did I buy, Dick with Kristen Dunst? I was like, oh, I don't know. It's just because it was $1.
Yeah.
But then you can take it a half-price book and get rid of it if you really don't want.
Yeah, you can't do anything about your streaming purchase. It's just there.
Oh man. So if you're watching at home, this will be the official end of the video game segment on there, but I do have to ask Mario. So please stick around because you might be interested. We're talking about like physical media. Did you ever hear back from the production company for Dinner in America to get a physical copy? Didn't you? I saw that you tagged them.
Oh, I got 2 copies. Well, no, I did. Yes.
JJ, what's up? It is on your permanent record.
What's up, JJ? No, I did. I reached out, got the website, got Dinner in America directly from the distribution company.
Wow.
And I also got the UK Arrow DVD.
You did get both.
Yeah.
So did they ping you back or you just found it?
No, I saw Kyle Gallner had responded to somebody else about it, and that's how I found it.
It was a great random recommendation from you that you kind of found. I don't even know how you found it.
I was watching another YouTube channel. I think it was like Red Letter Media. They have a thing. No, I sent you the video. Remember that video I sent you where they were talking about how movie theaters are going to survive or how they could survive? Do you remember that? Mm-mm. The Red Letter Media video where they were talking about the current state of movie.
Oh, yes, I think I do, yeah.
Anyway, They kept mentioning it there. And they were like, if you played Dinner America in the theater. They mentioned it a bunch of times. And then I was like, what is this movie they keep talking about? And I just stopped the video there, and I went and watched it. And yeah, it was great.
I have my prediction spoiler is going to be that song is going to be at the top of my Spotify wrapped at the end of the year as the most played song. Because last year it was Miami Connection. Next year it's going to be Watermelon by John and Jane Q Public. It was a good movie though, man. It was just like I had no idea about it at all, but then you got, Leah Thompson was just kind of snuck in there, and it's cool when you have people making a movie like that, and you can tell they're like, well, we know I'm friends with Leah Thompson, like maybe we can get her to come in for a day and just play a slutty mom.
Yeah. That's a great cameo. No, it was like, this was, yeah, so as I looked it up, I was like, this is great. This is one of the movies that just got swallowed up by the pandy.
Yeah.
Played at Sundance in 2020, and then zoop, the world blew up, and nobody ever saw it. I don't even think it hit Hulu for a few years. And, God, this has been my favorite movie I've seen in the last few years, honestly.
Yeah, I remember the first day you saw it, you said you watched it like 3 times in that day, right?
Yeah. It's great. Yeah. I wasn't prepared to talk about it. You kind of like got me on the spot here. But
I can't, like, if you try to pitch this to someone, it's a difficult to pitch because you don't really, I don't know how to pitch it. And sometimes I'm like, I toy with it's just like, it just feels like a movie that came from another generation.
yeah.
And then sometimes you're like, what if Napoleon Dynamite wasn't a comedy? But I'm like, wait a minute, Napoleon Dynamite wasn't a comedy. We just happen to laugh at it.
Right.
But this one leans a lot more into real problems, but then also real heart recovering these problems, and just like somewhat of like an anti-hero. You watch somebody that just kind of like a pyromaniac that's like a straight up heel, but then you watch that people are complicated, and sometimes they also do the right thing even when sometimes they don't, sometimes they do.
Yeah.
So it's a simple story that's complex at the same time, and I think that's what helps radiate the heart of that movie.
Yes.
Sorry, I just had to throw that in there because when we were talking about physical media, I'd been meaning to ask you off air, and then I was like, screw it, I'll just ask him on air, just like if you got that disc. So
Yeah. No. I got both versions. I'm betting. I bet that we might even get a run into Kyle Gallner maybe at Fantastic Fest.
yeah,
He's a big on the genre scene. He could be there. Yeah, I can't recommend this movie enough. I think it got a lot of heat because of the language. It uses a lot of non-PC language.
Yeah.
Especially at the beginning of the movie. The first 10 minutes are just so over the top vulgar
Jarring.
that it could put people off.
it could be jarring. Yeah,
And like folks don't really talk like that anymore, at least publicly. But I think hearing the director kind of go over is like, if you go to the Midwest, they still talk like that.
Yeah, man. I was like, maybe that's why I wasn't jarred with it, and I felt like it was made in a different generation because this was like PG back when when we were younger, and that's how they did talk in all the movies, and it wasn't that big of a deal. If you watch stuff like My Bodyguard, or even like the Stand By Me stuff, like the words that like you can't say that anymore. They say that in this movie, but we kind of came up with that. Now, we didn't come up with the concept. I'm saying we cut our teeth on those type of movies, so it wasn't that jarring. And that's like, wow, I haven't heard them talk like this in movies in a while, because everybody's very sensitive these days.
Right.
So I can totally see him within the first 5 minutes. People like, whoa, wait, what did he say?
The first shot of the movie is the lead, Kyle. They're just drooling in a mental institution.
Yeah,
pretty much. So that'll put that. It starts off really, really rough, and it turns into this like really sweet romantic love story that you weren't expecting. What I really hate, and this is why I told you, don't watch the trailer or read the description, because even if the descriptor on a Hulu spoils the biggest twist of the movie.
I didn't watch the trailer, and now I actually do want to go back and watch it because I took your advice. I've been pretty strict. I've been trying to stick to that. I was like, I trust you enough that I'm just going to watch this movie and go on the ride, and I still haven't watched the trailer.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah. by the sidebar, if somebody asks you for a movie recommendation and they take out their phone and watch the trailer in front of you, like, go to hell. What? It's like if you just watch trailers for films so you find them like. If I give you a recommendation, you should just watch it.
I trust that. Yeah. If somebody hands me a DVD and says you should watch this, I watch this, and like I don't need any other pitch.
Yeah.
Especially with people who know you and they understand that how much you care about movies.
Yeah.
The first time I watched Hustle and Flow, I had no idea. I wasn't into like the scene or anything, and there was somebody I worked with, and she was like, "You didn't see Hustle and Flow?" The next day, she handed me the disc. She didn't even tell me what it was about, and I was like, I was blown away.
Yeah.
I was blown away, and it was just like, it's kind of fun. It's kind of like you threw me a surprise party, and I didn't even know there was going to be a party, and there was no even reason to celebrate.
Yeah.
It was like in the morning, and I was like, oh, I should watch Dinner American, and that was it. I was bolted in my seat.
Yeah.
Those are fun surprises.
Yeah, it's so great. I can't recommend it enough. On Hulu, or just make the purchase on Amazon and own it for $10. Why not? Rent it for $3.99.
Yeah.
I think this director, I watched his next film called it's called Snack Shack. Definitely not as good, but you can sort of see where his head's at, I think he feels a lot like early like Kevin Smith kind of stuff.
Okay.
Not the best, not as good, but I'd like to see what else he does.
Well, I hope we do see him at Fantastic Fest, which is next month.
Coming up.
It's already next month.
We'll be doing coverage.
We
are press.
We're official. We're going to be official for this Fantastic Fest, so it's going to be fun.
So you got to tune in, subscribe to the thing.
Yeah, all those things.
Because, we got Fantastic Fest coverage coming.
Yeah, it's going to be good. All right, man. This game is over. Game over, man. Oh, Aliens. That could have been a video game, too. Dang it. Okay. Anyway.
All right.
I'll add that as an asterisk.
Okay. Well, like I said, we learned I don't enjoy video game movies.
Yeah,
and this was probably a bad idea for a podcast. But sometimes you got to get all the way through it for 2 hours before you realize.
I almost feel like you had that epiphany, too, just as much as the rest of us did when you realized, I just realized I don't like
When you brought this up, all I could think was, man, I love Super Mario Brothers 93. I can't wait to talk about that. And didn't really go any further.
But I'm glad you enjoyed the pitch. I think that universe with the prequel of Donkey Kong in that same universe,
Okay.
I think that would be bonkers.
We need that. Let's ping or tag studio heads in that one, and also my Smash TV adaptation.
Oh, yeah, that would be another good one. Oh, that would be
I'm just
so
going to
good.
make that myself on my phone. Get it on Tubi. All right.
All right. Peace out.